All right, man. Thursday. What a week. What a week it has been. Abundant, busy, challenging, all the things, all the emotions. I'm sure you can relate to that, Sweets.
It's been an intense week here in Buenos Aires. Yesterday, power was out across the entire city, and I was walking for 3 or 4 hours trying to find a shop with Wi-Fi because I could not disconnect from this attachment to it's business hours. I need to be working.
Damn. Damn. Yeah. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. I remember we were in Tulum for our retreat. This is not work related, but literally the power was out in our villa as soon as we like, and that was like the moment I was so excited for, as you can imagine, like when your guests are rolling up to this beautiful villa and then the power's out. But it was crazy how everyone adapted as a team. People were getting candles, like creating their own fire, their own light. I'm like, all right, I invited the right people to this experience. Looks like we got some people rolling through. Welcome, welcome to the virtual show. We've been doing these. This is what, our seventh live stream in the past month. Sweetman, you've obviously been a huge inspiration for what we're doing here, and yeah, I'd say if you're watching from YouTube, Twitter, please give us a like, comment, subscribe. It goes a long way for what we're building. Vurtual is a futuristic community. We are equipping ambitious individuals with the tools, the connections, and the experiences to unlock their full potential. I was telling Sweets before we even jumped on here, we just put down a beautiful deposit for an amazing villa this summer in Bali, where we'll be hosting our second retreat. And so stick around for the journey. You'll be learning a lot more about what this brand is and what our mission is, but truly it's empowerment at the core. Um, I'm here with Sweetman. Sweetman is one of my closest friends and a true pioneer. He embodies the balance between mindfulness, technology, and global exploration, living what it truly means to be the new human. He's a deep technologist and one of the top engineers in Web3 and crypto, constantly pushing the boundaries of innovation. For years, he's been dedicated to helping musicians get paid and reclaim ownership of their work. Beyond his work in tech, Sweetman is a global citizen. He's traveled the world, living in places like Thailand and Buenos Aires, immersing himself in different cultures and perspectives. He's not just building the future, he's living it. A leader, a builder, and an inspiration to many. I'm honored to have him here tonight. What's going on, sweet man?
It's an honor to be here. That was an intro that makes it feel like I'm on my deathbed and I've got my best friends reading out my life story. That was wonderful.
Oh, you got a lot of life to live, man. You got a lot of life to live, and I feel like both you and I are truly just getting started in this journey. And our paths crossed, I don't know, back in 2018, 2019 in Columbus, Ohio, and it's crazy to see how far we both have come since then. But um, I guess would love for you to kind of provide the audience as well with just a quick overview of what you've been up to lately, and just what you're excited about.
Recently, I've been building out the intersection of on-chain music and recently AI. My main focus, as Remy said, is to help musicians get paid. And with AI, that's been unleashing a whole bunch of new change emotionally and practically in my daily practice. The projects that pay my bills are Coop Rex, a record label based out of LA run by Koopa Troopa, who it's the biggest on-chain record label. Recoup, which is an AI platform for musicians to have an entire record label in their pocket, powered by AI. And then recently, within the past 2 weeks, Coinbase just started up a contract with me directly, and Base also just started up a contract with me directly. So I'm now also connected with both the Coinbase, more like official centralized exchange side, as well as Base on the more decentralized network. That focus being more Devrel making video, the live stream stuff that I've been doing, got them
Totally.
in my inbox. And then they were like, you're already posting about Coinbase and Base more than the people on our payroll. We want to bring you on our payroll so that the work you're doing is getting compensated. And just going into like, you're on number 7 can very much attest to everybody says they want to go live. The people who can actually keep it up after their first stream, there's a massive drop off between I have the idea that I want to go live and then actually doing it. And so if you can maintain that consistently, the opportunities I've been finding just kind of roll in.
Wow. Wow. A lot of abundance there, man. Congrats on all the opportunities. I mean, since I got into the crypto and blockchain space, you've always been at the helm, a pioneer, but just the brands that you've been working with in the past 6 to 12 months are truly S tier, right? Like they're driving the industry forward. They're driving the culture forward, especially Base and Coinbase. And I know Koopa Troopa's been dominating the music scene of the industry for a while now. So it's great to hear you're in company with these amazing brands. I guess how's that transition been for you so far in 2025?
You become that which you most consistently spend the most time. And from Proverbs, do you see someone skilled in their craft? They surround themselves with kings. They do not surround themselves with obscure men. And so I feel like the past 12 months, there have been a lot of opportunities and there's still more. And I feel that whiplash and the FOMO of all the opportunities. And I feel especially right now in the age of AI and with social media hijacking our attention, it is incredibly important for us to know what horizon we're sailing towards. Because if you don't, the algorithms and the AI will hallucinate a new goal for you and you'll forget you even had a goal until 6 months later. You look up, you look around, and you're like, how did I get here? I didn't even want to be here, but you never set a goal. And so with the lack of knowing where you want to go, everything else filled it in for you. And so it's like a pro and a con.
Wow.
You live in a world where you don't need to set any goals and the AI will fill it up for you. The social media will fill it up for you and you have a full day. And on the opposite side, if you do know where you want to go, you really need to stay focused on it because every time you set a goal and you use AI, it's going to hallucinate a little and try to take you off the path. You open up social to make a post and the Instagram algorithm is like, well, here's Remy's post. You want to like look at this and scroll for a little bit? And so whichever
Wow.
side you want to go, you're not going to be wrong, but it's a whole new way to be human that we're dealing with now.
Yeah, I love that you just brought that up. Like these algorithms truly grab our attention for better or for worse. And some platforms are definitely a lot worse than others too, especially I mean, I know you're on X. I struggled with X heavily to actually curate an algorithm that I enjoyed, that I was excited about. I think this year it's been obviously a very interesting time within the crypto space and the meme coin AI agent cycle. I know you're building specifically with creators though, so I'm hoping that your algorithm is pretty uh, seamless with some of the goals that you have. But I love that you said that and just like it comes down to intention. And a phrase you taught me is like what you focus on will grow. And if you don't have a focus, then what grows is ingrown, and it's not something that you actually want to manifest within your reality. And I don't see that like getting any better, to be honest. I see the algorithms getting more intense and less within our control. And you know, I think maybe that's like a good segue too with like this aspect of decentralization. I think my audience, it's a mixed bag, right? We've got amazing humans like yourself that are in the crypto Web3 blockchain space, but also some more, I don't even want to call them traditional, there's people that haven't been exposed to that aspect of technology yet with the AI and blockchain. And there is an abundance of opportunity out there waiting for people that are ready to accept these technological advancements. But I think understanding it in a way that makes sense and isn't financialized, because that's what a lot of people are seeing online is just this aspect of crypto and money and 10xing your bag or getting a rug pull. I'd love for you to explain, like, in your own opinion, what is decentralization and why is it important for people moving into the future to leverage this new technology?
Decentralization is a buzzword. The three things I'll talk about are practicing sincerely, boutique services, and Alexa for musicians. I'll start off with the story. You might remember Alexa for musicians. We were both working out of the Wave. It was a co-working space where Remy and I initially met in 2017, more or less.
2018, 2019.
2018, 2019. And I was building out a platform called Alexa for Musicians, where I would invite musicians into a recording studio or there at the Wave. We would set up mics and have musicians in Columbus give me audio recordings. I would train an AI, and then that way a fan could talk to Alexa or Google and say, hey, Alexa, talk to Ladies Love Lonnie or talk to Zay Finale. And then instead of hearing the synthetic Alexa or Google voice come out, you hear Zay Finale's voice come out. You have a back and forth conversation with the musician. And the musicians, at first, you get that excitement of, whoa, I'm inside of everybody's house. People can talk to me. But over time, musicians came back to me and they said, hey, I tried to tell my fans to talk to Alexa to talk to me. And they came back that Alexa saves all my voice recordings. And then another musician might come to me and say, hey, can I get access to those voice recordings? Or can you tell me who's actually using the app? I don't know if Amazon's saving those voice recordings. As a dev, I had no access to actually take those voice recordings or modify it. And that emphasized for me very concretely what a centralized service looks like. For the past decade, we have seen all power and all technology aggregate into key players, whether that's right now, NVIDIA, OpenAI, the big AI providers, or a couple years ago where most of your listeners might be of like Facebook, Amazon, Google, the big cloud providers that have been the past couple 5 to 10 years. Power likes to centralize has been the tendency over the past century or the past couple, maybe for the history of humanity. What is interesting about centralization is it makes things, in my opinion, it makes things insincere. You see a platform like Spotify or Amazon that start off with the goal of, we're going to make music easy to stream. And then as they grow and they centralize power, they become too big to be able to have that direct relationship with their customers. Like Daniel Ek used to be very direct. They used to have these collectives of musicians, and Spotify used to work really closely with musicians. As they grow bigger, oh, I'm sorry, those old musicians that we had time for, we don't have time anymore. We're focusing on bigger names, bigger groups of money, and anybody who's not in that like top tier, the top humans really have time for like 100 friends, right? And if you have more than that, you really can't keep track of it. And so I think the centralization and the scale has led to a lot of insincerity in the practice and in the world that we're maneuvering in. I think where we are heading towards in the future, that we want to build the future that we want to see and not be passive victims and say, this is the reality that I'm stuck in. The reality I see that's emerging and that I want to be fueling is a world of fewer centralized winners and more small boutique services. All services like Vurtual that says, I'm going to focus on 10 people and I'm going to create experience for those 10 people. And I can focus on each of those 10 people, understand who they are, what do they want to get out of this? And you can be incredibly sincere with that single relationship in a way that Airbnb could never be with interacting with all of their customers. And me in the same way. There's all this opportunity of everybody that wants me to build. But if I say yes to all those opportunities, it's going to be less time for me to be able to focus on any of them. And so decentralization I see as a mycelial network, a connected network of mycelium that allows nutrients and information to flow across an ecosystem without it overly becoming dependent on any single actor. Unlike your own backyard home garden, where you might have one tree and that single tree provides shade for the entire garden underneath. And if you chop down that tree, the sun's going to be too vicious, the roots underneath can't support, and the entire ecosystem dies. I like the idea of an old growth forest where you have naturally emerging dead trees falling over, provide shade for new mushrooms to grow. The mushrooms provide nutrients for other ecosystems, and an old growth, raw, untapped, like non-manicured, non-scientific forest is way healthier and more robust than planned cities and planned scientific gardens where we say, we're going to line it up with the same type of tree to maximize production of this thing. And then after we harvest, maybe the soil's less fertile, but we're just going to keep running that cycle until the soil is absolutely dead. And then it's dead soil. And we're just going to move on and do that again and keep harvesting until the entire earth is non-fertile. And so that's along. This is where I get decentralization. I know it's a buzzword on chain. But for me, I see it as the next evolution of boutique services. I think where we were was Amazon, Google, and Apple, big companies that had all the market share and they aggregated all the power. And I think where we're going to is a world of smaller services where it's harder and harder to have an infinite monopoly moat.
Sure.
But it's easier and easier to spin up and see a new opportunity and spin up a new service or product to fill that opportunity for a small target audience that you personally can attack like nobody else could.
Let's talk about how easy it is to spin up a product, because this is something you've been doing live with artists consistently, abundantly. And it's been really, really cool to see with people like TK, who's one of the most creative musician, rapper, artists, whatever you want to say. Like the guy's project he just launched is insane. You're helping these people learn a very unique skill that probably wasn't attainable for a musician or creator a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Can you talk more about what you've been creating for other artists?
Have you heard the term vibe coding before?
Vibe coding?
Vibe coding.
No.
Okay. It has been a buzzword that's come out in the past week. And it's been around for a long time, but it's really getting into the meta right now. And I think that's it. But it used to be you need a smart coder to code. With these AI tools, it's getting easier and easier to just have an idea, tell the AI, and then the AI builds it. I'll explain this a little bit more with my introduction to AI. I've been working with this guy, Sid, who I'm now co-founders with on Recoup AI. Before that, we were building all on-chain stuff for the past 5 years since Mint Songs. I met Sid at Mint Songs. Mint Songs got acquired by Napster. And then I started working with Sid, and he has been like my biggest partner in all the things that I've been building. He pays me monthly. 1 day he shows up to our meetings and he's like, "Hey, Sweets, look at what I built." And he opens up this website and it's fully built and it's got an AI chatbot in it. And he built it all himself in less than 24 hours. And he's showing this to me and he's telling me about this new thing, Cursor, and I'm listening to him. And I'm starting to get angry. I'm starting to get afraid. I'm feeling all these very polarizing emotions. And afterwards, I remember just being like, I'm out of a job. Sid's never going to want to work with me again. He can code on his own now. Sid is a musician. Sid's a producer. He's never been taught. He has no strong math background, no strong science background. I'm not trying to say that to call him stupid, just like to set the stage that he has no experience coding.
Totally.
He did that. And me as a coder, I saw that as an attack on my identity and on who I was. And my first reaction was to push that thing far away. Sid doesn't need me anymore. Let's get him out of here. He's not going to pay me. I'm out of a job with him. I'm only going to work with people who don't want AI and don't like AI. And I'm going to focus on those people only. I'm going to let my emotions, that strong emotional reaction, drive the reality that I'm trying to create. As I thought about it more, I started to think, wow, I had a really strong emotional reaction there. I woke up and I didn't have that emotional reaction. I thought a little bit more about the tech and I was like, I wonder, and I started asking questions. If Sid was able to do that, what would those tools do for me? Someone who does have experience with code. And I stopped thinking about it emotionally and started thinking more logically with open-ended questions as opposed to close-ended statements. Open-ended questions allow us to learn and absorb and understand reality. Statements are pointed statements that say, I understand reality and I'm navigating exactly what I know without the openness to be able to see and learn from new things. And so vibe coding is where we're going to. And I think what you have found is like there's some musicians that have an itch to build their own thing, like TK, and they're doing whatever they can to figure it out. And if they had someone like me who could show them how to use those tools, they're going to get a 4-year college degree in a 1-hour session with me.
Sure.
Where in the past, they would have to pay me and do these other things. And so what I'm excited about is this ties back into decentralization. Unlike in the past, when TK needed to wait for a dev like me to have availability, he needed to find a budget, he needed to get venture funding to pay me and wait till I have the hours to do it. He can now have the idea, open up Cursor, open up V0, open up Replit. I could sit here for an hour listing off all these AI tools and just write the same idea he was going to write to me to that AI. And then the AI will build it instantly for free. And then later on, if he still needs a dev, he can bring that built app to me, and I can do like an hour of work instead of building the entire app. And so the benefit for me as a coder, I can have an impact on more musicians while keeping the total amount of projects that I have consistent. On their side, there are more musicians that are building things on chain that are not limited to me being a dev for on-chain music that do it, which allow for more applications to get built, which allows for our ecosystem, the future that I'm trying to create, to expand without me having to have my hands in it. And so I see this as the most impactful way that I can have an impact on these musicians' time. And it ties perfectly with my desire to put out content. I want to be live streaming at least an hour every day, Monday to Sunday. I'm on live doing it. Like, I try not to overthink it. It's either me building and shipping, or if I can, musicians are in my DMs now because, like you, they saw my live stream, they see my Opus shorts on Instagram, and they're thinking, wow, if TK can do it, maybe I can do it.
Yeah.
And now we're changing that mental model where you and maybe other creatives have always identified with, I'm not a coder. I don't know how to do this thing. I need to hire someone else to do it because that's not me. And I think what I'm not trying to do, I think an opportunity that is open, and it's a seed that anybody can take if they want it, the more you identify with who you are, the more resistance and those strong emotions you're going to feel when new things come out. Because we've been navigating reality saying there's a wall here. I push up against this wall and it exists. I'm not a coder. I'm not a coder. I'm not a coder. Cursor came in and took a wrecking ball and broke down the wall.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are still saying, I'm not a coder. I'm not a coder. I'm not a coder. There's a wall here. And I'm going to continue to walk all the way around to get to the other side.
Wow.
Meanwhile, people like TK are saying, how can I? Let me ask questions. Let me observe reality constantly to see if this world is still what I thought it was yesterday. Wow, there's not a wall there anymore. I can walk through this. And so, like, that's the goal, I think, right now is your question was, what am I doing with these people? We're breaking down people's identifications and attachment to who they are, surrendering, a concept that you taught me very well, surrendering that so we can observe reality more clearly. Because the more clearly we can observe reality, the better we can manipulate it and interact with it. A prerequisite to manipulation is legibility. And if you think I'm reading this book well, when in reality you're totally hallucinating the book that you're reading, there's no way that you can actually manipulate reality around you. And so the goal right now is helping people see the reality of where these tools are at so that you can better make the decision of, does this serve me? Does this not serve me? How do I want this new information to change my daily practice? And so it's a very exciting time to be flexible in your identity, whether that's through your meditation practice or through your consumption of psilocybin or whatever you're doing to constantly break down your identification and attachment to who you are. It's a great time to question everything and be open to being a child and having no preconceived notions of how this world works, because everything is changing so incredibly fast.
Yeah.
If you want to navigate it in any way that allows you to not constantly feel like you're off balance, you need to stop assuming you know what this reality is, because even for me, it's changing on a daily basis. And this is a practice where I will continue to be doing until the day I die. And I encourage others to do the same.
The question really is, in 2025 and beyond, do you want to thrive or do you want to live in fear? And that's going to take being open-minded. Like you said, that's going to be challenging what you thought was true, what you were told were to be true, the path that was laid out for you for years now. And I've been just like, even just in conversation with you, Elise, like thinking about that more and more. Like, we should be challenging and questioning everything. Like, just because this person that has X amount of years of experience or this amount of power says something doesn't mean that's the end all be all. Like, we're human. The beauty of that is that we have the opportunity of choice to make decisions. And I think we mentally are programmed to believe that specific decisions are going to lead to specific outcomes when we can't predict the future. And I think when it comes to AI, like, I understand where the fear can come from, of course. You know, like, these sci-fi movies we've been watching for years now paint the picture. I mean, a lot of this stuff is starting to become a reality. It can be scary, but it also can be so freaking exciting. And what you're talking about isn't just, if you're listening right now for coding, you might not be a graphic designer, but you can be one now. You might not be an animator, but you can animate now, right? Like, even within Vurtual right now, as a founder, rather than me paying, which I'm excited to do so because I love collaboration, but paying a videographer or someone that's amazing at Blender to create these futuristic visuals for me, I now can leverage Midjourney, $10 a month, and Runway AI. I have the unlimited $95 a month. You don't have to have that. ChatGPT, $20 a month. Whereas maybe me reaching out to a top tier 3D Blender artist, which I'm excited to bring someone like that on my team when I can afford it, will cost me thousands of dollars. So really what you're saying here is all of the resources and power and knowledge, wisdom, the tools you need to create that vision you have in your head that consistently is coming up in your head for a reason because the universe wants you to birth it can be created right now. But are you willing to break down these little limited beliefs and mental barriers that you have to go and do it? And I love that you're helping other artists and musicians live, educating the people too, taking them behind the scenes to see how it's done. And I'm sure you're not the only one in the world that's doing that too, right? It's like, what does it mean to be a human right now? You got to be willing to learn. You got to be willing to accept these new advancements. You got to be willing to get to the core of yourself, to the truth of who you are, to create that thing that you want, to create that lifestyle that you want. Because if the same actions produce the same results. So, man, I love this conversation, man. There's so many good nuggets in here. And if you're listening right now, feel free to drop a question, comment. We've got Nada in here, really, really great friend of mine. She's the founder of Peace Lab Co. on a very similar mission as us, Sweetman, of just raising consciousness. And we need leaders to step up right now and express their gifts, share their gifts with the whole world because the world is changing. And it's not a thing out of fear. It's just we want humanity to thrive. We want our generation, future generations to thrive, to create something beautiful. And that's the opportunity that's at hand right now.
The world you're interacting with, the rules of this world were invented by people no smarter than you. That was a Steve Jobs post I saw this morning, and I shared it on my story, and it's just like you said, you have all the tools in your arsenal. It becomes very important for you to define where it is you want to go. And if you can define that, the tools are there that are more. Before, you had to hire a videographer, hire a graphic designer, hire a dev. That's $30K per month out the door right off the bat.
Right there.
Remy just said, I'm paying Midjourney $99 a month. I'm paying X service $20 a month and another 100. That's $300 a month. It's higher than a lot of people are paying for their Netflix subscription, but It's not $30K a month.
And what am I creating with that, though? I'm creating a brand. I'm creating a narrative. I'm creating an aesthetic, a vision, realities that are not even existent yet, but are creating that sense of imagination, of mysteriousness, storytelling, like using AI for good, right? I think that's what we want to like use as well, because a lot of people are probably abusing it, abusing the power, abusing the opportunity. But how can you use it to complement your dream? It's not going to overtake your creative power. Never allow it to overtake that. Allow that to come from within always. I want to talk about global citizenship as well, because I think this is also something I learned from you. Sweetman and I were part of a mastermind group here in Columbus. We met every single month for probably 8 months to a year. It's Jaden Hefner, Jenner Kane, who I recently reconnected with Jenner like yesterday. If he's watching, shout out. And Sweetman, a few months into this mastermind group, decided to up and leave and go to Thailand. And he was talking to us about blockchain and crypto, and none of us had any idea what the hell that was. And you paved the way for a lot of us and a lot of people to build that sense of confidence. When I heard you were going to Thailand, I was like, I don't know if I'd survive it. Like for me, that was scary. Just the programming that I was given, living in another country, that's dangerous. I'd love to dive into global citizenship because honestly, it's one of the biggest unlocks as a human in your growth trajectory as well.
The immigrant mentality is incredibly strong. If you're listening to this in the US was a country that was built by immigrants. And if you look around and you see first generation immigrants or second generation, you probably already know that they just think and operate in a different way, seeing a world that they were born into, not appreciating the system that was created for them, and moving them and their family to an unknown world with the hopes that it's going to be better than the place that they're coming from. It takes like you say, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of training that we're programmed with that prevent us from even getting to the point to seeing that as an option. And the people that do that are incredibly mentally strong and incredibly disciplined in their practice. I remember that time very well. The two things that come to mind when you're mentioning that time of the masterminds, the master hearts, I know there was a rebrand later on in it. Your whiteboard, where you had your daily calendar written out, and Monday through Sunday, it just had the word surrender. And maybe because I didn't understand it at the time, and then you went on a long rant about surrender, which is planted. That was years ago, and it's still like one of the. You've given me great mental models that have helped me to redefine who I am, and that was one of the first ones that you gave me. And then the other one was talking to you specifically about NFTs, knowing that I didn't want to talk about it too much because I didn't want to push you guys away. And I said it to you, and you just gave me this like massive grin. Not that you understood or cared, but you were kind of like laughing at me without laughing at me. And just like, this is some imaginary tech that Sweets is dealing with. I don't need to understand it, but man, isn't it a beautiful world that he can create these imaginary NFT things, and that it's a whole other thing that I don't need to know about. And that moment just it humbled me of like, most people don't care and they don't need to care. But getting out of the country, I'm glad that, I'm sorry, I don't want to use emotional words like glad or sad, but it has fundamentally changed every breath that I take since 2021. And it's opening up a lot of opportunities, especially for me as a small business owner, that I would not have considered living inside of the USA. I can go further, but I want to keep from yapping a little bit too much. I feel like the past couple of times I've been yapping a lot, so I'm trying to be more succinct.
You're in flow, man. You're dropping so much wisdom, so many gems. So keep doing your thing. But yeah, I think like I don't know. I think it took me because when did you go to Thailand?
2021, I was in Thailand. When did you first get out of the country? Your first move was San Diego in the country. That was your final destination. That ended up not being a final destination. And then you got out of the US and you're a true nomad. You've been like all over. I'm a slow mad, but you've actually like nomad.
I was like, oh, I'm going to be in California forever. That ended quickly as soon as I went to Cabo for the Roof is the Soul Music Festival. And then I met multiple nomads there. And I think ECC, that's why I'm wearing the hat. I went out to Paris for ECC, stayed out there for a month and a half, came back to the States, then lived in Mexico City for 3 months. Have lived in Portugal, but I mean, I concur with what you're saying. Like, I don't know, it's something like I really encourage everyone to try and experience. Is like one, sure, there's a lot of beautiful places around the world, but you're going to be put in situations and circumstances you cannot experience in the States. So you're like, currently, if you're only living in one country and you've only been in that country, you're experiencing a small amount of what the world has to offer. And I know, like, I don't know, it's very direct, but that's what I learned too, is like what they're doing in Egypt and how they live is completely different than how I'm living currently in Columbus, Ohio. Like, there is so much wisdom, perspective, and lessons to learn within that, as well as, I don't know, another location like Bhutan. You know, shout out to Nada. She hosted a conference in Bhutan, which is literally insane. Just mindfulness city, but it just opens up your mind more. And also just like the global friendships that you make. Are you kidding me? Um, I don't know. I think it's just good to, with most things, just like what, like you said too, with the AI, is just being open minded. I think it just creates a more like rich life, and I'm not talking about financially, just like emotionally. I feel like it just has enriched my life greatly.
And now you're planning getting out of the US again in a more permanent one-way ticket.
Yeah, man. I mean, I've been trying to go to Bali for like 3 years, so it's, for me, it's like it's about damn time. That's kind of, where I'm at. But I know for some people that might be a little bit more novel. But when you have a calling to go and be somewhere, um, you got to trust it and take that leap and allow it to unfold. I remember Mogadot. He's like expert on happiness, and he distinguished the journey versus the quest. And I think you and I, well, all of us are on a quest, but we have to accept it. And the differentiator is that a journey has a destination, but a quest does not. A quest is literally, like we said, full surrender, being open to all possibilities, all experiences, all relationships. And so I'm trying to embody that more and more, of just like, I could be in Bali for a couple months. I could be in Bali for a couple years. I could get a villa there, settle down with Elise. Who knows? Let's just be open to where the wind takes us. I feel like everyone wants to have everything figured out. And sometimes that's going to block you from the actual abundance that you want.
What do you think was the catalyst? You say you've had this thought for 3 years about Bali. What do you think was the catalyst to actually get you to buy the one-way ticket? It was like 2 weeks ago that you actually made the move, right, and pulled the trigger.
Yeah, it was Elise and I were in.
Real quick, I'm getting my power cord real quick. If you see me
Uh,
walk, it's getting
yeah,
that.
yeah, no, do your thing. You're always on the go. Nomad Sweets. Um, the catalyst. I mean, Elise and I were in Gatlinburg celebrating our 1 year, and one, just like super grateful for her because she creates this sacred space for me to just be who I am, without any restriction, without any projection. She supports, these decisions that others may seem as bold or scary. So I'm grateful like that I have someone in my circle, my corner, my life that pushes me to make those decisions. But I think definitely leaving my full-time job and finally going back full-time on this brand Vurtual. It's like, all right, now I can do this on my own terms. I had a couple opportunities to go out to Bali while I was at Proof of Talent, but just the thought of working with US clients in Asia at that time just did not seem sustainable to me, a lifestyle that I didn't really want to adopt. And I always told myself, all right, once I am finally a founder, working for myself, building something I truly care about, I'll make that move. Um, but I think, like, I don't know, I just got like, I woke up on like that Saturday a couple weeks ago and my heart was like, all right, book your ticket. And then I told Elise, I was like, honestly, I'm getting this intuitive feeling just to book the ticket. And she was like, you've been talking about it. Why don't you just do it? And then I did it. So, yeah, it felt. felt like it was a long time coming for sure, and just grateful that that's in the future.
We stand Elise. A partner that can support you like that and take you waking up on a random day and buying a one-way ticket and not throwing you out of a window is, when I heard you say how she responded to it, my response was like, wow, I got goosebumps just thinking it's a beautiful relationship that you two have. And I am incredibly grateful to get to witness what you're building with her from the outside, to see what that can look like, what that type of relationship can look like where there's that level of support. And so it sounds like for you, it was, you knew you want to do it for years. You had this blocker in your mind of like, proof of talent is the thing that is blocking this. And then after that ended, you woke up one day and felt inspired and then pulled the trigger.
Yeah. I don't want it to seem like la di da, but it's like once you let go of the things that are no longer in alignment, because for some time they're, proof of talent, 100%. Like so grateful for that experience, man. I got to travel and live all over the world and interview people from some of the top companies in crypto and blockchain. But soon as I, finally let go of that opportunity, the universe just like has supported me every step of the way. I told you before the call, like today's been a more challenging day, but that doesn't mean I'm not on the path. That's just a part of being human, right? We're going through ebbs and flows. Sometimes we're not always going to be at our mental peak, this sense of groundedness, especially as a entrepreneur, whatever you're doing. If you're building something you fucking care about, there's going to be challenges. There's going to be roadblocks. You're probably going to be juggling like 15 plates at once, you know? Um, so yeah, I live through intuition, man. The heart's the compass. Let that be my guide. I'm not waiting for the mind to tell me this is the perfect time to do this. There is never going to be a perfect time to do something.
Lived experience is a great teacher. When I was in Thailand, I went back to the monastery that I went to when I lived in Thailand, and one of the same monks was still there teaching. And when I talked to him, I've been reading all the books that the monastery gave out. I'm a big reader and I like reading and learning in that way. And when I tried to talk to him about the books, he's like, I don't read any of the books. I prefer to learn through lived experience. And when he said that, my jaw dropped like, how are you not learning from other people? And he's like, it doesn't mean I don't learn from others. It's in my lived experience. I'm not like going to classes and getting a book and hearing you say it. It's like, it shocks me because I'm like, wait, you don't have to go and get nose deep in a book, a 1,000-page book to learn something. And it's just humbling when I hear you say stuff like that, to show that there's another path and not just the one that I've been on.
There's a trillion different paths that can be walked, trillion different scenarios of how we can reach.
I'm curious how you got onto those. So two things, I don't know if I'm steering off of your roadmap, but two things that you gave me last year were profound in their impact on me. And my question for you is, how did you arrive at those pieces of content? One was, I'll start most recently, you sent me the Naval podcast on happiness. And the lesson I got from that was the goal is freedom from the mind. And that got me to stop trying to attach with any of my emotions, either the positive or the negative, and focus on the goal of freedom from my mind to see reality clearly. And before that was an interview you sent me with Dr. Joe Dispenza and Jay Shetty. And that one of the core concepts that comes out is until the pain of staying the same outweighs the pain of change, then we will change. Once the pain of staying the same outweighs the pain of change, then we will change. And just both of those were very profound in my 2024. And so the two questions again, how did you stumble upon those pieces of content and why did you ultimately send them to me? Because I feel like I looped them and like got attached to them. And for you, it was just like passing through and you just kind of like gave it to me.
Totally. I mean, the Joe Dispenza Jay Shetty video is probably something I was consuming like a few times a week. I think I was watching Joe Dispenza this morning with Elise. I love that guy. Just he always is a great reminder for getting out of your own way and adopting like I don't know. He backs like the science and just brain chemistry with a human with mindfulness, which I think like really offers great information and just backing for others to like adopt some of the modalities that he teaches, like visualization and meditation. Because he's not just saying like these are like woo woo things that people are leveraging to transform their lives. He's like actually taking data. And so I've always really appreciated that and just his aspect on abundance. Like if you want to be like abundance is something that we can feel now. It's not something that we have to wait for, right? And that's how you actually attract abundance is knowing that it already exists within you. As far as the Naval Ravikant, I think that one was just like very disruptive, and we'll have to drop the links to the YouTube and just the comments after for people to check out. But honestly, I think I had to listen to that like twice because there was a lot of comments in that in that interview that I was like, whoa, like this really defies like what people view as the meaning of life. And I don't know how recently you've listened to it. I would need to go back. Is there specific aspects of the Naval podcast that you listen to that has really stuck with you?
Yep, I still listen to it every morning when I run. It starts off with what is your definition of a prescription? Because it's something that not many people understand. Even I, and I've talked to you a lot, think I understand, but I don't know if I fully understand it. And he describes prescriptions as a way to get to a destination. And when it's something that you're new to, or it's something repetitive, like riding a bike or making a sandwich, prescriptions make sense. But when it comes to anything in the field of creativity, whether it's being an artist or being an entrepreneur or thinking deeply and being an analyst, prescriptions don't work. And we can keep going off of that. But that was one of them, is like, even if Steph Curry goes back in time to when he was young and tells himself exactly what he did, he can't redo it again.
Mm.
That which what we are best at, we know not how we do them. The things that we do best, we know not how we do them. And so you can ask Steph Curry how he's shooting threes, and he'll tell you, because you got a gun in his face and his back's against the corner, he's going to give you the highlights.
Yeah.
He's going to tell you the things. He's going to tell, oh, yeah, you do this. But if you follow what he says, you will not be him.
Right.
And even if he said it to himself, he would not do it, because the things that you define as the prescription fail to contain the infinite other things that you're doing on a daily basis. And you might not even know how you're doing it. Like I can tell you, this is what vibe coding is, and this is how I'm a coder. But the things that I do in my life, whether it's the Ashtanga or this call with you or the mate that I'm drinking, like there's probably a million other things that have led to me being good at whatever it is I'm good at and led to you being good at whatever you're good at. And so prescriptions don't work. And so you can't be following prescriptions, which is why we need to get free from our minds, and we need to get free from that attachment to the emotional responses and observe reality clearly through our lived experience so that we can properly navigate it to get where we want to go. But getting where we want to go starts with having a clear understanding of where you want to go.
Yes.
And observing reality clearly to be able to navigate the world around you to get from where you are to where you want to go. And prescriptions will not give you there if your goal is anything having to do with creativity.
Yeah, I firmly remember that part of the podcast, and it's such a great reminder because we see the people we're deeply inspired by, and I'm sure all of us would love to just have the conversation of how did you do it? How'd you get here? And I think you also see a lot of entrepreneurs talk about those people, and I'm sure I'm that person still all the time, but also are people like even willing to do the thing to create what those people have created either. But what you're saying though is it goes way beyond even if they did do the same thing Steph Curry did every single day, it's still not going to be the same. And that's just another aspect of being human. We're all unique in our own different ways. And I think that the quicker we can accept that as well, that we don't have to be like everyone else and go with the crowd and actually embrace this individuality, which the journey that we're both on, the journey that we try to embody daily, more, I don't know, I use the word beauty, like a more beautiful life, the more individual we can be and think for ourselves.
And that's where the sincereness has come from for me. At the end of that podcast with Naval, it's like, there is no good or bad, there is no positive or negative. And then one of the last things he asks is like, what is genuineness? And the podcast guest is like, genuineness is its own thing. It's not part of this prescriptions or the good and the bad. And that, I don't know where it ultimately leads to, but that was the seed that got me to the quote for 2025 for me, which is practice sincerely. And if you ever see me sharing like practicar sinceramente or practice sincerely, like it's that. It's like the goal is sincerity. It's not happiness. It's not sadness. It's being sincere in our goal and in our understanding of reality and showing up and being genuine about it. Not being attached to the outcome, but showing up, being present, and being very sincere in the practice and allowing that sincere practice to unfold the results and in the fruits.
You should be really proud of yourself, especially being in the crypto and blockchain space when there's so much money floating around and so much greed, um, from other people within the industry, that you still maintain this level of authenticity, this sincerity that you're talking about. You're staying true to the mission that you have and the impact that you have at your core. Whereas a lot of people will focus on how can I get this financial abundance first and then do the impact, where it's actually the opposite way. Once you can actually offer people an amount of impact, then that's when you can actually attract abundance, in my opinion. And I think that comes from like moving from a heart space versus your mind. Like your mind is the one that's, peppering you about the money. Let's be honest here. Making you stress out about your finances. When you're grounded, when you're connected, when you're in nature, are you worrying about those things? Probably not. I want to like get into this overarching topic of this conversation. Like, what does it mean to be human in 2025?
Naval will be how I answer that question. Back when I was on OSU campus, in the time when you and I met, I was looping Naval's podcast of how to get rich without being lucky. And in it, he runs a thought experiment. If technology is continuing to accelerate, where do we arrive? If tech continues to get better, continues to get more pervasive, continues to be more integrated into our daily lives, where do we arrive? We get to a world where all of our needs are taken care of, all of our food is grown for us, all of our medical needs are met. Any idea that we have can show up in a box on our doorstep within a 24-hour time frame. If we get sick, we have AI that can tell us how to heal ourselves and doctors that can do it. As we get old, more robot. In San Francisco, cars are driving you around by themselves with no drivers in them.
Yeah.
What is humans' role? What are humans' role in that world? We do what we want to do. We fill our days with this, whatever goals we've set for ourselves. Maybe we still build businesses. Maybe we still build products. Maybe we still show up to work, but it's not to get our base needs met. It is to find a sense of fulfillment in our practice. And that is what got me to first start building Alexa for musicians, was just thinking down, well, right now I'm doing things because I need to fulfill some base needs. But let's just assume 10 years from now, we've reached the singularity and we passed this point of having to do things to meet our base needs. What do I want to be doing? And for me, it turns into like everything becomes creative and art. Everything that we will be doing is art, whether we define it as art today or not. Coding is an art, business building is an art, scribbling on a piece of paper is art. Your base needs are going to continue to be met. If you feel that fear, try to observe reality more clearly, because I think the new human is up for us to see the emotions and get better at spending time with ourselves, observing the emotions that are arising within us, not pushing them away, but also not being identified to them and attaching to them, so that we can understand our bones both physically and the bones, like the core of who you are. Because if you can come into contact with those bones of what makes you you authentically, whether that's physically or metaphysically or emotionally, if you come into contact with the bones and you just bring your attention to that, I have found that my reality changes organically as a result of just putting my attention on my bones. And so in the physical practice of Ashtanga, that's physically taking the bones of my fingers and touching, like we talked about in a different call. And then in my actual practice, this practice of MIQ, the most important question, having a question and just spending time repeating that question to myself like a mantra, disconnecting from it.
What's your question?
Say again?
What's your question?
Depends on the context. Overall, my question right now, the biggest question that I'm dealing with is, am I mid-curving coins? And I don't want to get too deep in it because it's like really crypto, but I'm having a strong emotional reaction to Zora's new release of ERC20 coins. I'm finding myself very angry and upset, and I want to like type a whole bunch of words of how angry I am. And so my goal right now is to just not act on that, because in the past when I see something and I'll like go crazy on Twitter, I don't want to do that. I'm feeling very strongly emotionally. And so I'm trying to ask myself, like, how does a 0.5% income for a musician on a coin actually allow them to live a sustainable practice? What is the difference between the musician earning 50+% selling an edition as opposed to 0.5% on a coin? How does a musician's distribution network change if they can swap on any central exchange as opposed to selling an item with a credit card purchase as an addition? Each day my MIQ is changing. And so my practice right now is this. Have I already talked about it, or is it okay that I go into MIQ a little bit?
Go into MIQ, man. Let's do it.
Okay, so this came from the chess master. I'm going to mess up his name, but I think it's Josh Waitskin, something of that. He was a chess master, and then he became a martial arts champion as well. And he was on a podcast with Andrew Huberman the other day, and Andrew kind of asked him, like, how do you know what to focus on? How do you become like the top chess player and then go into a physical act and become like the top martial arts expert? And he replied, most people think the top chess experts are planning 50 moves out, and they're looking at all the complexities of the board and they're planning out 50 moves. But in reality, move 2 was incorrect. And so the other 48 moves don't matter. New chess players are letting their minds go with all the complexity of all the moves that they could be doing, and they're getting overwhelmed. They're spending a ton of time and energy on a very simple task of their next move. The experienced chess player is actually thinking very little. They're focused on one particular point on the board where the most important thing is going on right now, and they're only thinking through that small portion of the board and spending a little amount of attention focused on that tiny portion where it's most important. Take that into whatever practice you have of the most important question. At the end of the day, you might have been working on a task and you still might not have finished it. Write down whatever it is that is challenging you in the form of a question. Why am I so upset with coins by Zora? Why am I unable to scrape a Twitter profile? If Remy's case, why am I unable to create this video out of these images that I'm uploading to Midjourney? Just write it down and don't expect an answer. Disconnect totally. In the morning, wake up, open up the book and look at that question again. And you'll probably find the answer just comes to you naturally.
Wow.
And so what we're doing is we're connecting our conscious to our unconscious. We're allowing our conscious mind to plant the seed of where we want to go, the question, the open-ended, I'm trying to understand reality better. And then our subconscious mind is filling in our dreams, here's an answer to that question. It's just giving it to us on a silver platter. And once you get that macro of like night into morning, you can then start to hack it into smaller ways. Like after this call, before I get up out of this chair and go pack up and walk home, let me write down my MIQ. What's the most important question right now? Write it down and then just go on my walk. I'll smoke a J, I'll listen to some music, and I'm not going to think about it anymore. And then I'll get home, I'll open it up again, and I'll look at it again. I'll have the answer to that, and then I'll write down a new question. And my practice is now questions all the time. I'm going to go to the bathroom. Before I go to the bathroom, write down the question, disconnect completely, go to the bathroom, come back, open it up again. And the goal is to just like allow our conscious brain and our unconscious brain to start to connect those loops together so that they both work intentionally again on our goals that we are setting, instead of hallucinating and getting distracted on the algorithm or the AI or random things that are coming into my, all the signals in the camp. The MIQ allows us to stay focused on, this is the most important thing that my mind is focused on, expressing it in a very simple way that allows it to not be complex or overwhelming, and then becoming unattached to it and allowing the subconscious mind to ruminate over it. Like my friend Sebastian, I brought this up to him. Sebastian's my friend here in Buenos Aires for the past 3 years since I got here to Argentina. Every Thursday we get coffee together. And I asked him, what's his most important question? And he told me at first, what is my true passion in life? And I could see that it was making him stressed. And I asked him the next day, like, how are you doing on your MIQ? And he's like, dude, it stressed me out the entire rest of the day. And I'm like, did a new question come into your mind that you want to replace it with? And he's like, yeah, I think my actual MIQ is this. And what was interesting was like, just the act of practicing what an MIQ is will change it. Just bringing your attention to a thing, not trying to change it, just bringing your attention to it causes that thing to change. And so I'll throw it to you. I've been yapping for a little bit. Your mind might be filling with what your MIQ is. Has anything arisen for you right now as like the most important question that you want to ask yourself to try to hack your subconscious?
One, just like hope people in the audience are taking notes. I love this MIQ initiative. I have been in my head scraping some questions. I would say like navigating this. How do I navigate this next phase financially? That's kind of the question that I've had. That's kind of the just tension I've had in my mind, maybe today and yesterday. So yeah, I'm excited to write that down because there is an answer, and abundance is everywhere. So, but yeah, I kind of what I collected from what you were sharing too, to the answer of what it means to be human in 2025, like awareness, like take away what's actually happening in the physical world, the AI, the climate change, the government, take all that shit away and focus on what's important. And what's important right now is yourself. It's always been the thing, but now I think more than ever, we as a collective need one another to connect to ourselves, to create that sense of awareness, of connection, of self-love. Collectively, that's what it's going to take to continue creating a more beautiful world, and that's kind of my top of my mind always with my mission with Vurtual, right? Is how do we create a more loving, positive society? And so I like to hope somewhere within other people they have that similar mission. It might be in a very different way, the way they express it, but awareness, tap into yourself, get to know yourself. Who are you? What's your purpose? Why are you here? What's your MIQ after this live stream? Write down your MIQ if you're listening right now. And I wanted to give a shout too, because Sweetman, of course, we're speaking out about Jenner, and we got him in the chat. So much love, for you, Jenner. We're gonna catch up soon and continue just marinating on some of your ideas for the brand. Max Malo, great to see you in here, man. been seeing you shine and just evolve on LinkedIn. Happy to reconnect. Shoot me a message sometime. Ivan, great to have you in here. It's been a really abundant convo, Sweet. Do you have any like final remarks, final words of wisdom for our amazing humans and audience listening?
Jenner mentioned bones. Can I do a quick bones run through for everybody?
Yes.
Okay, everybody, we are going to be coming back to our bones. This is an interactive part of the show. Take a deep breath. Bring up your hands and find your pointer fingers and try to find the bones in your fingers. Touch them to each other. Take those fingers and the bones in your fingers and find your sitting bones. So take your pointer fingers and try to get bone on bone, touching the two sitting bones with your fingers. Try to connect with those bones. We're not trying to change anything. We're just bringing our awareness to it. Feel those sitting bones with your bones. How often have you done this today? Is this the first time that you're feeling your bones today? Reach around to the front. You've got a pubic bone that is connected to that same two sitting bones that we were just touched. It's the same bone. If you reach onto the sides of your hips, you've got your iliac crest, all connected to the same single bone that is holding our root chakra, the sacral chakra, our stomach, our reproductive organs, our digestive organs. All of that is sitting inside of those little points that we just touched in our bones. And then touching the sacrum, which is right between the two halves of your iliac crest. Sacrum sits right between the two halves of your hips at the base. It's right where your spine attaches to these hip bones. You can touch your tailbone as well. We didn't do that earlier. The tailbone, feeling that also underneath the hip bones. From there, taking your hands and reaching underneath your ribs and trying to find some expansion in your spine. Lifting yourself up a little bit with your hips. With your hands on your ribs. Taking your thumbs, putting them underneath your collarbones. Your collarbones are the only horizontal long bone in your body. Take your thumbs underneath those, try to put your fingers on top, and try to just spread them apart. Start to think through, where is my spine connecting with my cranium? There's a hole in your head and there's your spine attached to it. Where is that? And this is a practice of coming back to our bones, of just trying to understand, where the frick am I right now? Your muscles will change. The position they're in will change. Your physical place in this world will change. These bones are going to live in the ground after you die for a long time. And so physically, we're talking about bones. Emotionally, metaphorically, spiritually, the same concept applies. If you come to your bones and you start with your bones, allow your bones to be where you put your attention so that the rest of your practice unfolds naturally.
Wow. That's beautiful, man. Really appreciate you bringing us back to presence. Once again, back to what's important. And just want to say thank you overall, man. You've been one of my closest friends for years now, and it's been beautiful to see how your journey has unfolded, the impact you're creating in this world, not just within this world of blockchain, AI, crypto, but on humans, on individuals, with your wisdom, your mindfulness, your energy. I truly view you as an ultimate human, man. Like, just the qualities that you have, it's inspiring. So I just want to say thank you for coming on the virtual show. You truly are a representation of this brand, this community, and we're excited to continue watching you grow, man.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And where can we find you on the socials, man?
Instagram, Sweetman.eth, Twitter, Sweetman_eth, TikTok, Sweetman.eth, LinkedIn, Sweetman something or other, YouTube, Myco.wtf.
Incredible, man. Incredible. Well, I'll see you soon, my guy. Thanks for joining us tonight. Much love. Thank you, everyone that tuned in. We'll be back on Monday, baby. Cheers.